Like I said in the last video, I wanted to do a main weapon tier list to basically finish off Fresh Season to see how things were when, I guess, the season ended. Now, usually when I try to do tier list videos, I try to do it like 2 weeks after the next season has come out. So I did one for Fresh Season, and basically the week after, there was a huge patch that basically changed everything. So when I did my first tier list, a lot of the things just deemed really inaccurate, which is why I didn't upload it during the time. But just before Sizzle season comes through, I just wanted to show you guys my final tier list with what it would have been for Fresh Season. So hello guys and welcome to this dude, or that SW2 dude, and I'm doing the Splatoon 3 Fresh Season tier list. If you do enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe. There's gonna be a lot of analysis going here, and I'm just hoping to not make this video too long because it doesn't need to be. So let's get started. Now this is my old main weapon tier list from Chill Season, and a lot has happened through the time. So there's a lot to amend, but how I'm gonna do this is that I'm gonna start from E, go to D, go to C, and basically like skim through a couple of things that need to be changed straight away. And then I'll add the new Fresh Season weapons that I haven't put in yet. So starting with E tier, we have basically, of course, all the Brellas. I think all of them need to be buffed in some sort of way. This is by far the weakest class in Splatoon 3 currently. With the Splat Brella specifically, it's the damage and the ink efficiency. I feel like that needs to have a little bit more work. With the Tentabrella, I think it needs to be a few frames faster. And of course, the ink efficiency could use some work too. And I think the Undercover Brella's damage consistency or fall off could be a little bit better. And maybe even make it a little bit quicker too, just to give it a little bit more something so it can actually like do more than what it's already doing. The crazy thing about that is that I think the Undercover Brella is actually the better one out of the three, which has never been the case in the previous game. Other than like using the Kensa Undercover Brella in the Splatoon 2, which one was really good at the time. I would really love to see the entire Brella class have just some buffs. Hopefully Sizzle season actually fixes that. So moving on to D tier, I'm pretty much happy with all these weapons except the H3. I feel the H3 is probably one of the more unexplored kind of weapons that I feel like a lot of people could get a little bit more use out of. Considering more and more people are using weapons that have tactical and actually getting some really decent use out of it, I think the H3, as long as you can aim and hold your own with it, even though it's probably could still use like a little bit of like maybe an efficiency buff or maybe shot velocity being a little bit faster, as long as you can still hit with it and considerably consistent with it, I genuinely believe that the H3 at least deserves a B. It's a pretty big jump, and I know it's a huge biased take. Not really many people use this weapon even in comp, but I'm kind of going off my own intuition and how consistent or confident I feel when I'm using H3, and crazy use cases where I feel that it's possible to make some work of it. But considering what is there right now, I don't think it's going to be any higher than a B. Other than that, all these weapons I'm happy with. They don't really need much explanation. Moving on to C tier, there's only one specific weapon that I feel like that needs to be moved up here. I pretty much think it's the Reflux. I'm actually going to put it up here. Of course, Tenta Missile's still really strong. Of course, nerfed, so it's not like up there like it used to be before, but you can't ignore the amount of paint coverage that this weapon does produce. So obviously, you're going to put it up a little bit. Definitely 100% deserves it. And I don't believe it deserves a C. And especially, of course, the shot consistency or kill consistency is actually way better, especially when the new patch in Fresh Season actually came through. So yeah, it much deserves. I mean, honestly, I probably could move it up to A tier, but I think B tier is still fairly, solid for it too. Other than that, I'm pretty much happy with this. I'd probably move the 96 Gal a little bit higher, maybe around here. And I'd probably put the Snipe Rider down here. Like, the Snipe Rider is one of those weapons where technically it can be really solid or decent, but at the same time, you could pretty much use any other charger and you'd probably do just so much more work with it. So it's just like, there's just not a lot of use cases where you'd want to be picking Snipe Rider over anything. It's a fun weapon to play, especially when you do well with it. But yeah, it's quite rough, not gonna lie. There's just certain maps that you can't play this weapon on, and that's pretty much it. And apart from that, E, D, and C, I think we're happy with. Now this is basically everything in B tier. I think the only thing I'll move up is the Tri-Sosha with Inkjet. Considering that Inkjet got a huge buff from the previous patch, it's definitely shown. It's a lot more people have been using the 2 weapons or 3 weapons that have Inkjet. So Tri-Sosha has been seen a whole lot more, just the regular one. I mean, even before that, like, I felt like the Tri-Slosher with Toxic Mist was already really strong. So I was just like, okay, when they buff the Inkjet, then it's going to be a super solid weapon. And yeah, 100%. It's a super consistent weapon, gets a lot of Inkjets. It's really nice to use with Toxic Mist at the same time. So 100%, I think it deserves an A. And I think I'm happy with everything in B. We're going to move on to A. And we're moving up 2 things from A. So we're moving this, first of all, the Splatana Wiper all the way up to X. I'd be happy with moving the Splatana Wiper at X. It received a huge painting buff that does a whole lot more to it. This Ultra Stamp also got a huge buff as well, so the entire weapon, the whole thing, just got buffs. So now it's just super suppressive. The Ultra Stamp puts in a lot of work, and torpedoes were already good, so it's just now all around just a really strong weapon at this point in time. So yeah, I'm happy to leave this particular Splatana all the way at X. And checking this list again, we have to move another weapon up to X. The Ballpoint Splatling has been probably one of the most popular inkjet weapons in this game right now. Like, obviously, it is a ballpoint. It can deal with things close range, it can deal with things long range, and now with the addition of the inkjet, it pairs super well with the weapon. And of course, you also have a Fizzy Bomb, which is also one of the other strongest sub-weapons in the game right now. Basically, when that inkjet buff came in, it just went straight up. Like, I've had the ballpoint always in A, and I was just like, okay, if it gets, inkjet gets a decent buff, then it's gonna go up. And yeah, as it did, it literally did. So, and apart from that, I think we'll leave all these weapons in A. I think they're all very solid weapons, and a lot of people would use them. And there's, of course, a couple of niches, like you might see the Tri-Stringer and the Splat Roller. And, not many people use them, but when they're used extremely well, they do so much damage. Moving on to S, we have a few weapons here. I would like to move one weapon up, which is the Splatana, just the Splatana Stamper. Undoubtedly, the Splatana Stamper has been, like, just extremely strong throughout the whole of Splatoon 3 right now. It's just one of those weapons that has an extremely high skill ceiling, and the skill ceiling today is still being pushed, and we're seeing how strong Stampers are. And, it's not easy to get to that level, but, like, it's just, like, it really is so strong at this point in time. And it's not, like, the type of strong where it's just, like, man, I hate playing against it. I mean, of course, you might hate playing against it, but it's just, like, if you get messed up by someone using a Stamper, you just kind of feel like, wow, they're doing something that's not something that a lot of people can actually really pull off. So, yeah, Stamper right now is extremely strong. And it's not easy to make strong, but when it is, oh my god, it does a lot for a team. Decent painting, high damage, huge distraction rate with the Zip Caster, burst bombs, like, come on, you have so much going for it right now, so I think, for sure, it deserves X. One thing I want to move down is probably the Explosher. We'll probably move it down to around here. The Explosher is a very solid weapon, undoubtedly, and I would agree that it will probably get some more use as more patches come through. But right now we haven't seen it as much in terms of like super high level play. Like sometimes it does get played, but like it's used on very few maps, and I feel like to really pull it off, you have to have a decent comp to really make it work too. So I think Explosion, it's very solid still. I mean, A is still a solid tier, so I'll probably leave it around there. Apart from that, I think I'm fairly happy with all the S tier weapons right now. I don't think these need to be moved down. With X, there's only one weapon that needs to be moved down, which is the Custom Junior. Now, I think the Custom Junior is brilliant. It's an amazing weapon. But at this point in time, especially with what is going on with the amount of crab tanks still being used, slosher machine still being really strong, I feel like if you're going to use the Custom Junior, you might as well use the Splatana Wiper. And the main thing is that the majority of your play is going to be coming from the main weapon and the sub-weapon, and the Splatana Wiper has amazing paint, just like Junior, and it has a torpedo just like Junior. So it's just like, it's great to throw wave breakers down, and I think it could be great on certain maps to like clear space and all that type of stuff. But of course, you could probably pair having Heavy Splatling and Splatana Wiper on the same team just so you can cover all those aspects, having a wave breaker and also having the torpedo at the same time. And of course, just a better fighting main weapon too. So it's just like, it just makes a whole lot more sense. So, I think Custom Junior is great. It's just, of course, inaccurate when it comes to fights. Splatana Wiper is just way more accurate and has Torb and basically same sub-weapons. So it just makes more sense to bring the Junior down. Not that it's not a terrible weapon or anything like that, but Splatana Wiper is basically there, right there, staring at you. And apart from that, I think I'm fairly happy with all the X-tier weapons. Of course, the Splash-O-Matic and the Slosher Machine still staying strong. I think Elita is still going to be one of the strongest charges in the game. I'm sure the moment Crab gets super nerfed, or specifically Splash-O-Matic gets super nerfed, where maybe it gets a special point increase, please. Just give it a special point increase so less people actually use it, and less people use it just depending on its Crab, because that's how it's being played right now. I think that would make a whole lot of difference, but right now, Elita, still amazing, and I think it'll stay there throughout the rest of the time. Either way, we have all the other main weapons that we need to add in, and I'm going to try and do this as quickly as possible. So we got the Tri-Slosher Nouveau that has Fizzy Bomb and Tacticooler. Now, when I was talking about people using Tacticooler more, especially with the H3, this was the weapon I was talking about. This is why people are using Tacticooler, because this weapon, Tri-Slosher, has been very, very consistent with the Tacticooler. And there's like a lot of maps where it's just like, wow, you probably might want to, it'd probably be nice to actually run a Tri-Slosher with Tacticooler. And because it has Fizzy Bomb too, it's just like a perfect combination. So it's just like this is basically the zombie weapon, or a really good zombie weapon where you can just kind of use it selfishly for yourself and then just run in, push in, use Tacticooler, respawn in, get 2 kills. And then it's just like, boom. If you die, then you're back in straight away. So it's just like, wow. Yeah, a lot of people have been really utilizing this weapon really well, so I'd say definitely deserves an A at least. The L3 Nozzle Nose D is one of those weapons that hasn't really been seen much, like really much of ever, but I think the weapon is still just okay. It's solid, doesn't do really a lot, but it also does have a burst one, which is really cool. And Ultra Stamp being as strong as it is right now is also very solid. I think this weapon actually is probably one of the fastest special builders in terms of the Ultra Stamp, so I could see myself putting it in B. Like, it's not horrible, it has like decent range against some stuff, has decent movement too, so I can see the L3 being at least around B. We also got the Neo Sploosh-O-Matic, which has the Squid Beacon and Killer Whale, which honestly with this weapon is actually not so bad. I still think the Sploosh-O-Matic is a really good main weapon, in my honest opinion. Like, honestly, I'd want to probably move this to B. Actually, no, at least C. I mean, maybe even like a higher C, actually. Let me just like rework that. Because I think the Sploosh-O-Matic is a solid main weapon. It just has to get things up to things close. But at the same time, it's just like not having a lot of range in this current meta is really hard to actually like gain ground and get past people. So I'd fairly probably put the Neo Splooshes around C as well. Like, honestly, in my heart, I want to put it around B. In my honest opinion, I actually do want to put it around B, but just to agree with like how the meta has turned and like how things are right now, especially going against these other weapons here, it probably does struggle a little bit, but like, you know, given the right situation, I feel like you could still put like some decent work with these weapons. So honestly, I think I'll put it at the highest C, not gonna lie. So I think that'll be okay. The orange NZAP, this has Auto Bomb and Super Chump, if I'm not mistaken. I think I'm happy enough to put this weapon around B as well. And I think the thing that NZAP struggles is that it has super slow shot velocity. So it's just like, I mean, it's made to be like that. But of course, your movement speed with the weapon is also really good with it. So you can't ignore that. It paints decently well, and having a weapon that paints Super Chump really well too is, you know, super solid. So I can like at least give it, you know, I can at least give it B. And it's actually won like a big tournament before during this season too, but only one time, if I'm not mistaken. At least the one I remember. They had like 2 of these in a Splat Zones thing, but I still think it's just like okay. So it's just like, you know, I put in B at least. The Neo Splash-O-Matic, 100% in X. This is one of those weapons where I feel like it just builds triple strike very quickly, quicker than any other weapon in the game. Just like how the regular Splash-O-Matic just builds up Crab Tank quicker than any other weapon in the game. So it's just like, yeah, if you want to get triple Ink Strike, you use that weapon, because it's just going to also be very consistent, because you have no jump RNG and you have perfect accuracy. It's just like, come on, it's just a shooter that is just so consistent. Like, come on. The custom Jet Squelcher, I've played it once before. I really wanted to like it. This weapon has Toxic Mist and Ink Storm, and I really want to like this weapon, but like at the same time, this weapon only really does well if your team is doing well. Like, it feels like this weapon can't really do much for itself. Like, it will support your team amazingly as long as you can, you know, get it into the good positions, or if you're using it right. But if it's on its own and your team are lacking, then it's really gonna struggle. So it's just like, it's a very great team-oriented weapon, but doesn't really do much for itself to actually get things done. It's basically the enabler. I'll put it at least in B. Like, it'll enable your team to do some great things, but for something to like do something for itself, it struggles. Right, the 96 Gal Deco. Now, you might think I'm very biased with this weapon because I like this weapon a lot, and you think I'd probably put it at X. I actually kind of want to, but I don't think it deserves that right now. I think respectively, since it's one of the better Kraken weapons during Fresh Season, I'd say it's at least an S rank. Like 100%, Kraken is amazing when it comes to just general initiation. It's almost like a zip caster in a way where like you can also just like push in, initiate, and also distract your enemies to look at you as you are just rumbling around as a Kraken. I think that's what it does really, really well. It's also really great of holding down areas with the splash wall as well, and the long range it has too. And the randomness of the RNG can make it really unpredictable to where you would want to stand, especially when you're on the fighting end of it too. So it's just like, yeah, it's a good weapon. It's a really, really good weapon, and undoubtedly it's one of the strongest weapons that is in this game too. The Kraken Roller, basically kind of the same. It has Beacon and Kraken as well. I would put it in A rank too. I think you can be extremely good with the Roller in general, and having Kraken is just free initiation most of the time. And a Beacon as well is also a really nice combination too. I think this weapon's good, but you just have to enable it with other teammates that prepare like a lot of paint for you too. So yeah, weapon's solid, super solid. Kraken's always just gonna do a lot of work for you. The Fire Fin Charger, let's see. I think the Fire Fin Charger, if I'm gonna be honest, I put the Fire Fin Charger around here. Like, I feel like there are definitely, it's a super solid weapon. Like, splash wall of it too is okay. But in my honest opinion, especially from sniping a lot in this game, I feel like I'm more confident, maybe it's a biased take, I'm more confident using splat bombs, and I feel like the splat bombs do more in comparison to the splash wall. Like, the splash wall might protect you against like one matchup like Elita or I guess another charger, but I feel like that's the only thing. Like, if you're going against like high damaging, fast, like firing weapons too, your splash wall is just gonna get shredded. So like, if you're going against a Hydra, it's just like you're gonna have like barely any time to even really charge a shot. So it's just like, okay, it is what it is. I think it's great. I think triple strike for it is also really good, but I can't put it higher than, I can't put it in S. I think it's solid, but like, it's definitely not an S. And of course, we got the final two blasters. We got the Rapid and the Clash Blaster. I think I'm just gonna quickly put the Clash Blaster around D. Like, it has Super Chump, and the weapon does not paint enough to get Super Chump fast enough, so I don't think I wouldn't put it higher than D. Like, I kind of want to put it in E, but it's just like, if you know how to play a Clash Blaster well enough, you can really annoy the hell out of people, especially just like checking their own mistakes and all that type of jazz. So yeah, I think the Clash Blaster is just gonna stay around D. And the last weapon, of course, is the regular Rapid Blaster, or not the regular Rapid Blaster, the Rapid Blaster Deco. So with the Rapid Blaster Deco, it also does have a Inkjet, and Inkjet, of course, is being, right now in the current meta, before a patch comes through, is really, really strong. So I think the Rapid Blaster would be fair to be put in at least A. Like, I think the weapon itself is also really, really solid right now. It has a Torpedo, of course, and Inkjet. Torpedo, of course, really, really strong, has always been strong with a strong pairing with this weapon. And of course, Inkjet being stronger, yeah, like, it's 100% that it goes in A. I think this weapon before was in B before the Inkjet was buffed, but now it is. It's just like, okay, yeah, then now there's like so much more cases where you can actually use it. So yeah, the Rapid Blaster deck is super solid, so I'd be fine to putting in A. And honestly, guys, that is basically the conclusion of my tier list. This is what I wanted to do before, like 2 weeks into the next season, but of course they had to release a patch really, really early on in March, so it's just like, it just kind of threw things off. So this is basically my opinions of where I feel like the meta is at right now, where these are your X tier weapons, S tier weapons, A tier weapons, B, C, D, E. I can do the alphabet. Alright, so yeah, that's basically what I think. Like, of course, this is being released on the Sunday, so of course in like Monday or Tuesday, we're going to be getting a new balance patch for Splatoon 3 Sizzle season coming in. So, you know, of course, this whole thing is gonna change, and we're probably gonna have to do another main tier list very, very soon. So I'm hoping they don't do any quick like quick patch notes changes again, because if they do, then that's just gonna mess things up again for me. So what do you guys think of my tier list? I hope you guys have really enjoyed. I hope you guys can understand some of the reasoning for this. This was a lot quicker than before, instead of fully explaining absolutely everything. I feel like you guys kind of have a good understanding of like where weapons are, but you know, if you didn't know, this is where I feel like weapons are right now. So if you did enjoy it, I appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys, for watching this video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and be prepared for Sizzle season, because I got a whole new series coming through. Basically just teaching you guys how to play each and every single weapon, and then I think I'm going to do it through X battles too, because I think it's going to be a really good way to really like learn how these weapons work in X battles. So it's going to be kind of like in the mind, but a little bit differently, and yeah, I think it's going to be really helpful for you guys and really educational too. So I appreciate you guys putting in some work, and I will see you guys in a future video.